In basic terms, spirituality is the search for God. In the Catholic Church, spirituality is generally seen as an integral part of our religion. As much for the laity, the everyday members of the congregation, as for the religious, those who have taken vows to the Church. This search for God takes on many forms and is unique to every person. One may search for God in studying the Scriptures, while other will find God in helping the poor or disenfranchised in our community. For both, and in fact for everyone who undertakes this quest of faith, in some way we, grow closer to God. For each of us, this is our conversion experience. One of the most popular Catholic spiritualities is Ignatian spirituality. Saint Ignatius of Loyola is the founder of the Jesuits. The Jesuits, of course, are long considered to be great teachers within our faith. They, of course, are founders of many fantastic institutions of higher learning, including Boston College, Gonzaga University, Loyola Marymount University, and St. Mary's University in Halifax, Nova Scotia. St. Ignatius describes his spirituality as a way of proceeding, which would be a good description of spiritualities in general. The particular charism of Ignatian spirituality is that of contemplation in action, which is to say, involvement in their world with the perspective of finding God, finding Jesus in all things. This is the approach I bring to my teaching, finding Jesus in every student, in every colleague. When I first decided to go into teaching in the early 90s, I'll admit the motivation was occupational. At that time, employment prospects for graduating education students were very good. Sadly, however, by the time I graduated in 1994, this had changed in the province of Alberta. It wasn't until 2 years later that I managed to get a position with Elk Island Catholic Schools. Coincidentally enough, the school was Holy Redeemer. I say coincidentally because there are many aspects of Jesus' teaching that appeal to me and which I try to employ in my own vocation. Jesus spoke with confidence. At the Sermon on the Mount, in Matthew 5:39, Jesus says to us, "Do not resist an evil person, but whoever slaps you on your right cheek, turn the other to him also." Often misunderstood, this passage does not ask us to cower and submit to evildoers. Rather, he tasks us to stand firm. In Jesus' time, it would have been difficult for someone observing Jewish law to slap someone on the left cheek, without defiling themselves, as they were required to use the back of their right hand. This was Jesus' way of saying, don't back down in the face of wrongdoing. Jesus was courageous when he taught. The story of the adulterous woman in John 8 shows this. Moses' law says that the woman caught in the act of adultery must be stoned. Yet when asked, Jesus simply leads the crowd, who would have been in a frenzy at this point, to recognize that they themselves are sinners, inasmuch as the woman. As an asterisk on the situation, Jesus tells her that he does not condemn her. This would have been seen by the local authorities as defiance of the law, something they hold sacred. This was a powerful position that Jesus took. When Jesus spoke, he used language the masses would understand, according to the crowd he was addressing. When he spoke of the wise man who builds his house on rock and the foolish man who builds his on sand, in Matthew 7:24-29, Jesus was using terminology that these people would understand. They lived in the desert. They understood the perils of building on sand rather than rock. To them, this made instant sense. A long explanation was not needed. They got it. To act justly, to love tenderly, and walk humbly with God, as is said in Micah chapter 6, verse 8, is a constant requirement, 24/7. For my part, I look to emulate these traits not only in my work, but in my personal life. As a teacher, in the eyes of our students, we are always a role model. One of my greatest pleasures is having the opportunity to serve Eucharist to my students at Mass. Sharing the miracle of transubstantiation with them is, for me, a great way to demonstrate living the faith. It's not always easy to follow and emulate these traits that Jesus used. Ours is a highly scrutinized vocation. We are charged daily with the care and education of the most precious of all people's gifts, their children. As well, every parent is a teacher themselves of their children. If we are truly to educate our students to the degree that they deserve, we must work together.